Let's pray. Father God, we turn our hearts to you this morning. We're mindful of those that less fortunate than us, and we are praying for those that are trying to keep peace. We pray for wisdom and direction in this meeting today. We ask for all those that are suffering with COVID. We pray that they're healing, and just be with us this day. We pray in Christ's name. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome everyone this morning. First item of business today would be the minutes. Will be sent via email. Any alterations or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Payroll 12 for calendar year 2020 totals $237,815.86. We had 280 claims in the amount of $789,809.48.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
0. Scott. First item. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have a whole lot other than to report jail numbers and open the bids for the Humvee. As of this morning, we have 58 total inmates. 30 of those are pretrial superior, 13 are pretrial circuit, 9 F6, and 6 DOC. And I have 3 bids. 2 is from the same. The auditor informed me that one came in late for the last commissioners meeting, and they resubmitted another one. I'm assuming this one's probably lower than what the last high bid was, so they resent another one. So, but I'll open it regardless. The last bid was $2,850, so it's got to be $2,900 or higher. So the first one that showed up was $1,500. That was the late one. Sorry, I guess I should have looked to see who it was from. Ryan Carroll. And the second bid from Ryan Carroll came in at $3,000. Bid from Eichler House Ministries, which is from Julie Eichler, for $3,000. So we have 2 bids for $3,000. So $3,050 has to be the max bid on the next commissioners meeting. All right. And that's all I got. Unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Watch out. Thank you so much.
Josh, we have you next.
Backhoe crews completed most of our south nodes. There's a couple that keep trickling in. We'll get them this fall. Backhoe crews transferred to the road conversions up north. That kind of goes in part with number 2. We're finishing ditch work and entrances and all that stuff. To the north sections, south's complete. Pretty much ready for everything we need to do down there with chip and sealing that. Patching crews working on north townships. They should be complete this week or next. Then we'll move south. Durapatcher's still running every day, doing random spots, crossings, helping with the patching crew to speed things up. Dust Day, second application went down. We're done with that for the year. Everything went good there. We have went through with our maintainer and hit gravel roads in the past couple weeks, just to help smooth them out a little bit. They're going to get, gravel kicked to the side and everything because it's dry and going into summer, and that's just part of it. All 3 mowers are out. resuming today. One has been running nonstop, but the other two were doing roads. Now they're back to mowing, and will continue to do so until we start chip and sealing in mid-July. I've got the broom, our power broom out, doing all bridge decks around the county, paved and gravel roads, just getting the stone and the stuff off the sides, and then something I didn't add, I thought about on my way here, culverts are small culvert projects. I've got 7 done so far, and there's 3 more being done this week, which would leave us a balance of 3 more to do. So we normally drag those out, and contractors are busy, but I've stressed that I'd like to get them done sooner than later. So by July, mid-July, we'll be done with all of those rather than pushing them out into the fall.
And some aren't too small. Some
Yeah.
are the big ones.
Yes, yep.
Appreciate you posting it on the county website, so.
Yeah.
And Jessica for putting it in the
Yeah,
banner, keeping it.
we try our best to get it out to all the people we can, but it's impossible to touch everyone. That's it.
Thanks, Josh.
Yep.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Nate?
Good morning.
Morning.
Couple of items here I have for your consideration, the contract from Primco Inc. This is for the Bridge 304 project. We're hoping to start that work. They didn't include a schedule with that, but the word I heard was they were gonna try to do this after the Bluffton Street Fair. God willing, everything goes forward with that, so that's their intent for that project. So just requesting your approval on that contract, and then we can finalize our dates for that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I have a correction I need to make. Lisa found this for me. During your last meeting, we discussed the contract for Bridge 51 with Engineered Resources. I had reported $128,790. It actually is for $137,280. My total I gave at the meeting did not include the geotechnical work to it. So the contract we had actually was for $137,28. I just wanted to correct the record for that.
Balance
So-
out of engineers salary. So noted.
There you go. Coming up on budget, just in time for that. So, countywide bridge inspection, I actually got a response back from Butler, Fairman, and Seifert on that. I'm negotiating with them pricing and scope of work. It was more of an increase that I wanted to do. So there's a number of interim reports and inspections because of the number of bridges we've been rehabbing. Those involve doing an extra inspection, so they were building some cushion into their proposal. I think I've got some of the extra weaned down. I'm hoping that we can come down from that as well. So once I get a revised proposal, I'll bring that to NDOT, and then hopefully I can then have NDOT's approval, the blessing on that, and then I can present it to you during the July meeting. So just to kind of give you a status update for that. I have down here the citizens telephone, but during drainage board chair didn't have anything on that, so I don't think that they've ever reached out yet. So what I'm going to do is just reach out to citizens telephone again. So I'm not going to request your approval on that utility permit at this time. So, and I do have one right-of-way dedication that I had for your approval. Roy, did you have any others?
3.
We've got 3 more. 4. So 4 right-of-ways we're requesting approval on.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And other than that, quick day today, so that's always good. I'll have you an update on the road conversion petition list. There's been far less updates in the last year than the years before, so it's gonna look a lot like it has in the past. So we'll decide how we move forward, so I'll take that with me today. So,
Thanks,
all right.
Nate.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, Nate. All right. Next up is Michael.
Good morning.
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 So I wanted to talk to you guys today about the RTT apartment and restore project, north side of Bluffton, just north of Walmart. The Planning Commission had their initial hearing last month, or this month, in regards to this petition and the potential of the road going from State Road 1 Main Street all the way into the North Oaks Edition, Maple Drive. So that we went in front of City Council at their last meeting, had a discussion with them in regards to what they would like to see from the road. And their viewpoint and their department head's viewpoint was that if it was going to be a public road, that it needed to connect from Main Street into the North Oaks Edition to avoid maintenance issues and to provide for emergency services and other things that need through access. They also talked about having a future stub to the north property and a future stub to the south property for development purposes. And then one of the things that we wanted to talk with you about would be potential traffic control measures taken in the North Oaks Edition to improve that area's ability to both handle traffic and slow down traffic moving through. And that would be the list, first of all, changing the speed limit in that neighborhood from 35 to 25. That would be consistent with what they're asking to do with the extension of Maple Drive through the apartment development, as well as the stop sign locations. Now, some of those stop signs that are listed, some of those are there. Some of them are posted in different manners. So there might be two-way stops where we're looking for a three-way or a four-way stop. But looking at ways to keep traffic speeds down with narrow roadways and things in that neighborhood. Traffic speeds are an important thing in this process. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is see what your opinions as the commissioners in regards to the road connectivity.
We had
yeah.
a conversation
Yep.
regarding this, specifically on the north access. Can you give me an approximate location where that access point would be going to the north?
So the north access would be somewhere along the roadway area where it's pushed up to the north property line. So it would either be a connection into the U-Store facility or directly behind it.
Okay, it's not designated on,
No.
will that be decided at your meeting Wednesday? or-
It'll be decided as part of there's two-step approval for this. So there's the development plan approval, and then there's going to be a major subdivision plat
Right.
to break up and dedicate the road right away. At that point, they'll dedicate the official connection point
Okay.
to the north. The south one is the very west parking lot, the very southwest parking lot.
The parking lot, yes, that's
Yep.
the other one.
That is where
Correct, that's the
the south
connectivity
connection
point
to
one.
the Winger Farm.
So the connectivity point, will that be up to the developer, up to the city, or up to the property owner to the north?
I think it'll be a joint effort between the
Okay.
property owners to the
So
north.
as long
and
as the
yeah.
discussion is open.
Yeah.
and-
What the city requested is that when they're building the road, that the designated driveway entrance would be installed in the curbing. So there
Right.
wouldn't be a future cut.
Right.
It would be already built similar to what they did on Dustman Road.
Right, as long as there's discussion up front about it, I
Yeah.
don't have any issue whatsoever
Mhm.
about that. The point was the infrastructure from the proposed extension passed into the North Oaks
Mhm.
was going to be equivalent to the same street makeup
Yeah,
of
so
the
that,
apartment complex, correct?
so the connection that's shown right now is that the city street style improvements stop at the west property line,
Not down the Maple intersection?
not down to the Maple
So
intersection.
the
that's,
connection's not between 1 and 3?
it would be, but the question for you is more about what that road section to the intersection should look like.
Between 1 and 3?
Yeah, between 1 and 3 on your
I
list.
was under the understanding when we had our conversation that would be improved to the intersection.
That was the initial plans that the developer put forward. The revision plans show as a stop at the property line. I think they'd be open for that discussion.
So where's the connection in the revised plan? We say it's somewhere through the U-Store to the north?
No, yeah, so
That's-
there's 4 connection points. One is Main Street, one to the north property, one to the south property, and one west into North Oaks Edition. Which would be, yeah.
So the fact we really don't know what's being done with the connector into North Oaks in terms of street design, what's requested,
So there's three options.
updates.
Yeah, so there's three options that have been kicked around. There's the option of stopping the city street style improvements and then finishing the roadway up as it sits now, basically a gravel or chip and seal connection. There's
Being
the
done by whom? County?
be done by the developer to finish the connection.
Who owns the property between 1 and 3?
That would be
That would be the county right away.
it's county right of way. Yeah.
I seen the plan in
Yeah.
its original form.
Yeah,
and I
which
was under
had-
the impression the street is connected all the way as one piece to the
Right.
intersection of Spruce and Maple.
Yeah, so the three options for consideration are shrinking it down to a fire access lane, which I don't think there's a lot of interest in from the city side. Running the city street all the way to the property line and then changing over to a county-style street, or having the street connect all the way to the intersection, or the street improvements, city-style street improvements go all the way to the intersection of Maple and Spruce.
I'm gonna think out loud real quick
Yeah,
for you.
yep, that's what we're looking for.
So when I look at this,
Mhm.
and I don't follow it too much, but
Yeah.
I don't really think, it sounds like from what you're telling me, you know, one entity doesn't want to do this, one doesn't want to do that, open for discussion. What you just offered to me, honestly, I just kind of like the access to emergency vehicles getting through there. And that's just point blank and right there, because I don't necessarily think we need to take that through into North Oaks, but yet it gives access for emergency vehicles through. So I think at this point, from where I stand, we need to look at another means of another exit, if that's what you require.
Or
What about,
there's an exit there, just make a turnaround so
Yeah.
that everybody
I'm
can get
assuming the
around.
yellow line here at the south end is the boundary between Walmart and the farm to the west?
Yeah, correct. Where the,
GIS says that's owned by Eric Winger.
Yes,
Any
yep.
discussion on acquiring that, or at least access to go south to Monroe?
well, they are stubbing a street down there, so that development of Winger's property would include that connection.
Well, stubbing it doesn't get it to Monroe.
Correct.
Has anybody
But they
talked
don't.
about that? Actually building a street there?
Well, who would pay for it?
Well, I suppose the developers. I mean,
Uh,
it's supposed to be a market
Normally
rate.
ask the developer to build and make improvements on somebody else's property would be fairly out
Well,
of.
acquire the
Asking
property
has
and-
anybody inquired about Winger's property, or do they have any plans for development, or do we know what the future holds for that property?
No, other than it's zoned residential.
I mean, because if they're
They
thinking
did,
about
they did
developing in
work
some
with,
place
the
in
developer
the near
did work
future.
with Wangers to run stormwater around North Oaks Addition into, through an easement on their property. So they were open for discussions on that.
I mean, it'd be really nice to see a street there, obviously it's
Yeah.
under payment, but
Yeah.
it'd be nice to know what the future holds for that area.
Right,
Yeah,
it's kind
and
of
you're not gonna design that street until you know whether they're doing
When I
single
did
family or,
Beltwork, every way had to have an access point, and when it gets developed, at some point in time, there would be connectivity. I guess from my standpoint, when I seen the original plans, I think
Mhm.
if we're gonna allow the connection from the apartment complex, it should be improved to the equivalent of the city street. That's just my opinion. Now,
Yes.
the south access point is planned, the north access point is planned. The driveway coming east on the state road one, I understand, has got
The
a
three-
turn left and a turn
turn
right
right.
exit.
Yep, yep.
And
So
an
it's-
entrance,
Yep.
so.
Mhm.
Um,
Sort of three-way movement.
And I think one of the other points I brought up in regards to construction is that at point number one, there would be actually no traffic until the last building receives a CO.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we had marked down as potential options about closing that street down to through traffic during
So,
construction.
even though a building might be occupied, the last building
Yeah.
would have to be occupied with a CO to
Mhm.
allow that entrance to be accessed.
Yeah.
And the other points of interest that is changing the stop signs, changing the speed limit
Correct.
in the remainder of the subdivision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the Facebook Live or whatever it was when
Mhm.
you had your meeting, and those were some of the points that caught my eye. But, you know, I'm
Yeah.
one of three, so.
Yep.
And I honestly think it'll be less expense and less disruptive to the neighborhood if we went with Kevin's suggestion to just do the fire access. I know that's not really what the city prefers, but
Well, they prefer that you can go through there. I mean, if you're thinking about a snowplow going through, they can't just stop there. They need to go through.
but
A
this-
school
this
bus
is going to
shouldn't
be
back
annexed
up.
into
Those
city,
things
right?
are, yeah.
So
We
we're gonna have
mean,
the
if
city
that
trucks
road-
here, and we're gonna have county trucks here, so, I mean, they really.
You don't
shouldn't
want
be
to plow it
going
to
The
keep
city.
access needed, but you're not going to plow through it. I
The
mean-
city would. The city would be plowing the snow off of the other side.
So make a turnaround.
So if there was a turnaround, the turnaround would negatively impact one of the buildings or the detention basin. So that was one of the reasons for not looking at putting a city spec cul-de-sac in at that location.
So make sure I'm not missing anything
Yeah.
here. When I think of emergency access road, correct?
Yep.
That I come off, I have a street, I go through. A lot of times there might be a gate there that doesn't allow access into that property unless it's emergency only for means of egress.
We had talked
Or
about
not.
the option of a gate, but who would have access to that gate would most likely just be like the fire department
Right.
through a Knox box system, so that a city snowplow wouldn't be able to open
Where's
that
the
up.
city snowplow gonna go if they come over to the county side anyway?
They would have to turn
They
around
can
at the
turn around.
intersection at Maple and Spruce. There has to be a point for them to do
How
that
long,
turn.
how far is that from Spruce over to the access?
200 feet at the most.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's my idea. You plow up to it and you back up if you have to. It's not a big deal.
Cause it's straight here to back up.
You're
So
right.
that's going
And
to-
if there's a place, if the snow, because we would keep it open for emergency traffic and you always have to, and the city's gonna come down through their apartment complex to their point, correct? With a city street, and we meet up, and I'm sure somewhere in the midst of all this, somebody can open the gate and plow it open. We don't get a whole lot of snow that really creates that issue, but in the event it does, we take care of it when it happens. If it comes down to it, we take a backhoe up there if we have piles. But I'm sure with Josh working with the city, I don't foresee an issue with snow removal in terms of gates.
So you would want a gate?
Well, how else are you gonna I mean, when I see toll
Yeah.
roads and I see different emergency access, they always have the offshoots coming up onto these highways.
Yeah,
Somebody's got a key.
yeah.
I'm just saying, that's just what I see here.
Yeah.
Now,
So that was so the points with so trash trucks and school buses will have to turn around and go the other way. Is that what you're hoping for?
yeah, well, I
Yeah,
guess
maybe
if it's
now.
not through street, I don't know what else they're gonna do.
Yeah, because a school bus by law can't back up unless if there's no other option. So having this as a point would be a point of.
I'm sure they make pickup points right, where they could work it. I mean, I don't know.
They would all have to walk up to the front. area
Or somewhere, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm sure there's a place in there where so they're not supposed to back up, school buses?
Correct, they're not supposed to back up.
Wow. Okay.
I guess, so the big point for today's discussion is we have the rules, we have the ordinance in place that says that you're supposed to have at least 3 points of ingress egress onto an existing roadway. There are only 2 points available on this property, so having the future access points to the north and south, very prudent, this process. But having that connection to Maple Drive in North Oaks was kind of that minimum. And the city made the point that as council members, as the people that adopt the ordinance, that waiving it when there is a possible connection seems counterintuitive. Waiving it when there is no option is what a modification is for. So if that's the question point, why are we wanting to stop things there when that connection goes through? When there's the opportunity for a real traffic control local connection. If
As long
it's
as
the
there's
desire
access,
to,
it's not
My-
really stopping it.
Yeah.
My point would be exactly the same thing. It was platted as a street, and at some time it was used or designated as connectivity to something.
Mhm.
But that being said,
But
is
then we rezoned it from residential, which would have been another community like this one, and so people would have been like-minded and driving.
it was
through there.
actually
Now it's-
business zone
Oh,
beforehand,
okay.
so it could have been
It just
another
increased the population
box
of
store.
that area a lot, though.
Yeah.
So
So
it
you go,
is,
like you said, so you go from a city street to the density population increase versus just a residential type of,
Well, initially, the zoning before it was
business.
changed to R3 would have been a Menards or a business
but there wouldn't
complex.
have necessarily been all those individual cars coming and going regularly every single day.
Right,
at
yeah.
such high
now,
business
do I think that they're gonna use that as a thoroughfare going back through there? Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
not.
I think, yeah,
I mean, that's the question. Yeah,
If you did open it up, I think you would need more than just the stop signs and the speed zone. 25 miles an hour seems still like it's pretty quick, pretty fast for people to drive through a residential area. I mean,
Most
you're probably
cities
looking
use
at
it.
maybe needing some speed bumps or something along the way too.
that would be something for maintenance officials to,
But it's-
they're gonna annex it?
they are annexing this property, that's why, otherwise. it
North
would-
Oaks.
No, not at this time. It has to be a completely voluntary annexation, otherwise it's really not worth going through the process unless you can guarantee like 60% of the people are willing to sign up and
Okay.
be part of it.
So if I live back there and I start throwing speed bumps in to slow things down, I'm not gonna be real happy.
No, I wouldn't be happy
I
either.
You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
put the speed bumps early on though. I put them.
Right.
Like 2 or 3 there.
You know, which I agree with your speed bump idea.
Right.
I really do.
I mean, I wouldn't put them out here to bother the
You're
people
right.
coming out. I would put them between. And drive for 23 coming out there instead of.
Any
restricted access.
compensation from the city coming through there, cause of the additional traffic that's gonna come through, being that apartment being annexed?
I just brought it up is that the first 12 months to 24 months is that the cops park somebody here and sheriff department just at the times when you would expect, like 7 o'clock in the morning and 4:30 at night or something, early on, just to kind of control it. If you add these particular stop sign intersections, so not anybody's just blowing straight
Center
north.
needs stop signs anyway.
That's
Some
what,
of them out
yeah.
there, they didn't
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, there's
kind of some,
definitely
Yeah.
a need for traffic control in the neighborhood anyways.
regardless of what we do with the access.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do they do for bus stops in town? I mean, they don't go down every single city street.
And then they
in
pick kids
London,
up
do
at
they?
certain block locations, yeah.
So, I mean, coming to the forward of that
Mhm.
complex is unreasonable.
Not necessarily. So I guess
Any idea what you think on a traffic count through there?
NDOT, they had to do a traffic study of what they were expecting for the NDOT
True.
driveway permit.
That's out front though, is that, how about the back?
They did, it
Through North
included
Oaks.
other
They did.
roadways, but I don't have the numbers that
Nate,
they
you got an
collected
idea?
off the top of my head.
It's gonna be just the local traffic, I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
100, maybe 200 vehicles per day.
Yeah.
Anecdotally, I mean, it's just gonna be just who's there and deliveries, so. Usually none of, I mean, if we're talking about changing stop signs or speed limits, you'll probably want to try to, before you do that, you're gonna wanna justify it. And I'd say based on what I know, nothing's gonna justify 4-way stop.
in that addition, there's no.
Due to
way
count,
amounts in-
traffic count.
Yeah, traffic counts aren't gonna justify it.
It's
so-
just the people that live there,
Yeah.
it's not
Right.
a pass-through. Like,
Right.
And even if you were to add all that traffic were to only go through there, I don't think your numbers are gonna be enough. that-
To justify a four-way.
Yeah, a four-way stop. And now, if you wanted to look at speeds, it may be that your 80% is gonna be in that range of the 25, but
Mhm.
you don't necessarily wanna create a speed trap. So I would encourage you, if you wanna make traffic control changes throughout North Oaks, that I would just ask for your recommendation to do a traffic study, essentially, to look specifically at kind of a traffic counts or speed counts.
But
Well,
it's
how you gonna
hard too, because
project
you're
that?
studying currently.
Yeah,
Currently, there's no problem.
Right.
yeah.
How do you study something?
They haven't gotten any complaints, to my knowledge, other than
We don't hear anything.
localized drainage issues, so.
Yeah.
I would suggest looking at what Ossian did because they changed their entire town to 25 mile per hour, not from 30. So there has to be a methodology behind that.
So so when I see Aussie and you run through, when you go out 1,000 north
Mm-hmm.
and put 25 mile an hour there,
You know,
that's a little over the edge.
well, I understand that, but that's what their whole town
Yeah, I
did.
know. I know.
And that's different between a collector street, your Davis Road, and is more like Dustman.
Right.
While a local street, completely local
Yeah.
street is definitely
Right.
a slower
And I agree
traffic
with
speed
you.
and
on
should
that.
be.
I totally agree
Yeah.
with you.
And two of the concerns, Michael, you brought up with trash trucks
Yeah,
in an apartment complex, like,
they're picking up dumpsters.
exactly
Mhm.
90% of them are in a dumpster, and school bus traffic will probably be at a minimum, being that 75% of these apartments are one bedrooms.
80%
Hmm.
are one bedrooms, 20% are two bedroom
So
units.
let be real on that being a factor on an emergency exit.
No, that's absolutely. So what type of improvement would you like to see there? I guess maybe that's the question of the day for board members that are representing the county in this regards. If there's any guidance, they would be appreciative.
Let's look at that. I guess if it's snow removal, and the last drive to park is gonna be here, do they even need to go down there? Other than if the snow is deep?
If there's a mound of snow at the end of the road, then a fire truck wouldn't be able to go through it if it was for emergency purposes.
No, but I'm saying,
And there's a lift station
There's a,
right
yeah,
where number one is.
major
There
utility
is?
infrastructure, yes, right at the
That's the
property
one
line.
they just-
So you want to keep that plowed out anyway.
Yeah.
For access.
Correct.
So that'll be, okay.
So that point, you would need to go
Is the lift
through.
station on county right away?
It's
or
on
is-
county right of way,
so
yes.
this road isn't
There might be
here.
private easement there too.
Is there
but I
a
don't
road
know.
between 3 and 1 already?
Yes,
And where does it end? At 1?
that one.
So
Yeah.
how do they turn
At the
around?
lift station, correct?
It's a
Probably.
lift station. The city drives their truck up to the lift station.
Yeah.
Well, why can't they turn around there?
Right, so we're
I go
plowing.
past I personally plowed it, I plowed
Yeah.
past the lift station and plowed the snow. So
Yeah.
if there's a gate with a knock box, we would have a key, or Tim would have a key to come through.
I mean, if turnarounds, I mean, it's already a dead end, so why would that be different? Coming from the
Yeah,
other
this
side.
is-
To
a
use a
dead end road.
scenario, the River Road, right now, currently the city plows past the little bridge, horse
That
bridge,
structure.
they go
Yeah.
past to 400. And then that's where
County
they
to the
back,
county, yeah.
pull south, back up and come back into town.
Mhm.
But the section from the horse bridge to 400 technically is in the county.
Yeah,
So the city is actually coming past, which is in
Because that's-
essence
yeah.
the same here. They would go down to the intersection, turn
turn
around,
around and come back, yeah.
head back.
And Tim and I work well together, like using River Road as an example, if he's
Right.
out there first, he'll go all the way to White Bridge.
Yeah.
If I'm out there first, I do the same thing. Like,
Yeah, because there's no good place to turn around until you get to major intersection anyways.
It's just if you open it up, then you open up a whole bunch of problems versus if you leave it closed, then it's the way it has been and people would deal with it.
But you need that third.
So the third is not not really an option, because you can't have two connections on State Road 1. If NDOT would
Too
be
close
crazy,
together,
and
yeah.
they're too close to
Right.
provide any traffic
Right.
relief.
And
Right.
there's no option of coming over to Walmart.
We talked to that at the meeting. It didn't seem like that's a possibility. There's a lot of grade change between the two properties, so it would be kind of an awkward.
Like I would
change
think
over,
people would
but
like to
that's-
come out
I have a question.
to go
Yeah.
shopping. Yes.
Nate, you're going to be able to answer this. Was there a development over in Decatur that came out of a subdivision and connected into the Rural King Walmart era? Not Walmart, but on the north end of
Walmart site.
Yes.
You said that Decatur Golf Course.
Yeah.
Did that connect into that parking lot? Am I wrong? Or?
I believe what they do is the parking lot, the neighborhood that's there,
Yes.
the villas that
Yes.
are north of what's now Rural King,
Right.
they've got a private easement across that. Now, I don't know if they pay for that plowing of all those streets themselves privately or not.
Okay. But I'm thinking right?
That can be done, but they essentially had to get easements from what was at the time Walmart, or from the developer. who
Okay.
Sold that
Okay.
tract to Walmart.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah, there is.
pressing my mind a little
Yeah.
bit.
That's a unique little spot there for what that is. It's not a great scenario because they
Right.
end up using
Right.
private or public parking lots to try to get to your
The
development.
one time Walmart closed and went south,
Yeah.
that sat vacant, so I don't know the scenario.
So
what happened.
I think they all
Yeah.
started to panic a little bit about what happens to their access. It's nicer if the streets are just there in public right of ways, because then it allows the flexibility.
Yeah.
Wouldn't there be three with one?
Well, they're not.
Walmart.
But
not
they're not
real,
open
though.
right now.
Yeah, then we don't know when they'll reopen.
Well,
Maybe.
the north is just going to be blind, right?
And south
Just,
too.
just the
Yeah,
curb
just
is going
the
to it.
opening for somebody to make improvements later. Yeah.
So, both ways, the north and the south will be connected at some point
Yeah.
in the future, but not immediately.
But if you make those connections, and then there's this connection in North Oaks that already exists, and you don't make them connected, then what makes somebody else not connect it later? Because I don't want my apartments to connect with this development to the south. That's kind of the slippery slope that you're talking about. There's lots of subdivisions with stub streets to future developments, and all they have to say is, well, I don't want extra traffic coming in, so my stub street and the whole design, that neighborhood is put out to pasture. That's the point of the ordinance, was to try to make sure that city streets connect, so that not all traffic has to go out on State Road 1, creating more issues on an existing overburdened roadway.
You don't want multiple close connections on a road like State Road 1. You want to have as few as you can
Right.
for traffic purposes.
Especially if
You
we're
get
wanting to make that
Coliseum
4
Boulevard
lanes in the
scenario
future.
Where everybody's got an entrance, and then your bypass no longer really a bypass, or your third street. So,
I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
Has the developer, Michael, talked to Wingers at all? Because if they talk to Wingers, they could run 2 exits right through that Winger property. West, east, and one right behind Walmart, and then one all the way at the back of the development. And there's your 2 going out to Grove Street.
Yeah, I think the
This
question.
developer use that ground for other development, a strip mall or whatever, in that
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, I think the big picture is we try to keep everything that is approved on the property itself, and then have those express that in future development of other properties they go. I mean, we have not made somebody improve a roadway on somebody else's ground or purchase somebody else's ground to develop their property in the past.
But unfortunately, this is a huge change, potential change to the neighborhood
Yeah,
with
As-
one easy decision on
It's
our
not 15
easy
buildings.
decision, yeah.
yeah.
It's not an easy decision. It's
No, it's
affecting
not.
multiple lives, multiple properties, multiple
I mean,
home
While you
values.
promote growth, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
the big thing is that this is a one of a kind, major improvement to our housing needs that we have in Bluffton. So the biggest, one of a concern is to make sure that we are doing things and showing that we're open to business.
Well, government entities have cooperated before in acquisition of, like Snyder Tire, Snyder Drive.
Correct.
City, county, and private money, I believe, all went into that.
Correct.
The fact that this isn't a factory or hiring employees, but providing housing for as many as, 180 units?
Yeah. All, in the Snyder Drive situation, all entities that own the property where the drive was dedicated or gave those easements away. So, it was all parties bought in to that. And that is a possibility, but I don't know if you could say to Wanger that I know exactly what type of subdivision or what development I want to do on that property to say I want a road here and then later on figure out that I wanted to develop it another way. That's where the
point of
complications.
Dedicating and running a street north-south on that property doesn't say how you're going to use it. Whether that's more apartments or whether that's commercial lots. The fact that there's a street there put into standards, one might argue, enhances the value of that.
Well, in a way, or unless if that's where when the engineer comes and says, well, the storm drainage needs to be detained right at that location because that's the best spot for it and the road's there. Those are big.
This may be really close. Could there be a more of a blanket right of way across that south property that the street could go in wherever? It would be like not really an option of purchase, but an option for a easement. So that way that road could go wherever it needs to go as determined later.
You could get a blanket easement. The problem is from the landowner's standpoint is what am I going to do with it? Because I don't know where you're going to locate your street.
I'm saying if the street were not built right now.
No, I understand.
Just a blanket easement, then in the future, you know that street could exist across that property wherever.
Well, the point is, if you're going to put a street and it's on the exact east line, that might not be the most convenient location. If you move the corridor west, then you've got a street and you can develop lots on both sides.
Yeah.
And you've got dimensions that I just don't know. It's not my
if you knew it was going to be single-family lots, you could know that you would want to run the roadway 150 feet off of the property line and do something that would be consistent with other.
How far is it from there to there?
500, that's what I was just measuring.
Yeah.
575 feet.
Something like that.
Those lots in North Oaks are how much? 100 feet east west?
They vary quite a
Some
bit,
of
but
them,
there's
yeah.
90 to 100 feet,
The line that's here,
If that's-
north of 1-3.
If that's the stub and that's the Walmart line, is there enough room in between there even with that?
For lots.
Theoretical.
There's room for a few,
Everything.
2, 3, single-family lots,
Where that access point from here to the west property line, roughly 575 feet.
So they got lots of space they can, and if they stub it there, you're saying it could come out of any one of those. And
Well, no, it's dedicated to come out of the apartment
Because the city
there.
has authorized their approval for this right away, that these.
Yeah.
but then you're saying what, you're gonna curve it after that to go
Yeah,
where
so
you
that,
want to?
if you look at that lot, most likely it's either gonna be a large arc road that goes around the outside so that within an interior street to build out the interior of the lots. So that arc would come up and then there would be a stub to the north into that southwest parking lot.
So my question is,
Yeah,
I'm just with full workability here, but
Yeah.
I see this as city issued, right? On this with this complex.
correct.
I think the city needs a little more skin in this game as far as why am I making a decision for North Oaks for one road?
In what regards?
I guess, I think there's, I get a feeling, and I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but it seems like that's a nice city project for me to cause one 200-foot section of issue on a county basis.
It's not even 200, I mean, it's
But you know,
affecting our
but it
entire
causes
subdivision.
200 feet causes all this,
Right.
right? I think the city has more,
So what's the right of way on Spruce?
On Spruce, it's 25 feet, 50 feet in total.
50 total.
Yeah, that's the same right of way as many
All
city
of them
streets have.
So
All
this
of
one
these.
has 50.
They're just improved much less than
am I
a
missing?
modern road
Or
is.
what am I missing? Help me out.
I just look at it.
They painted this into a corner. is what
From
they're
the, yeah, we're painted into a corner. I looked at it that Maple was always plotted to do something as a future street
Mhm.
and connectivity. The amount of traffic that has the possibility coming down Maple through our county system makes it difficult for us because of 180 units of someone. So, you know, North Oaks doesn't have an association. They have all sewer. Most of them have water, not all of them, but most of them do. They don't have a drainage tile system for drainage, so there's no pavement that has been paid for anything in the county standpoint for us really to maintain it the way it needs to be maintained. But when you have all the municipal, majority of the municipal connections, it needs to be annexed into the city. It really should be. That's not their desire. So for us, it makes sense to have the connectivity. However, that we're asked to have the restriction. I guess my best case scenario is that maybe in 4 years, 3 years would probably be the last building would be built. I don't know, from June 15th of 2020 till June 15th of 2023, the last building might be built. That gets a CO, that we have 3 years of trying to work something out with them. I don't know. You've had a lot more conversations with homeowners out in North Oaks and, I mean, I get a list of somebody, you know, against the project and things like that, and we're trying to.
It's definitely a
They've signed the
double-edged
petition.
sword.
It is.
We want the growth, but you have to understand these folks. You know, Michael, you live
Yep.
in a private dead-end community. So if someone buys behind Reed's Car Wash and puts this same unit and they wanna go right to the golf course road, right through your addition,
Yep.
you can't tell me you're gonna be standing up cheering for it.
But I know that substreet exists. I mean, that's the point.
Yeah,
No, I
that's
mean,
why
people
I'm
don't get
saying- that's why
excited,
it
but there's the
started with
point
it's
of,
a double-edged sword.
Yep.
They know it's there, but it is gonna go through an addition that's a county addition that is, you know, some of the comments, it's gravel, it's chip and seal. There's no sidewalks, there's no street lights, and
If we
you
would
worked in
improved
Fort Wayne-
it, that will even go faster.
and
Correct.
If you
Right.
lived
Make
in
it
that addition, you
worse
can't tell
by
me
making it
if
better.
you work in Fort Wayne, you're not gonna cut through North Oaks to 250 to 116 to go to I-69. I mean, you just guarantee the traffic's gonna
no, I don't think
It will increase.
Oh,
Yeah, there will be more.
Yeah, it absolutely will increase, especially if kids go
But that, like
to
Michael
Norway.
said, that stub street's there, so in the back of everyone's mind and or one of those thoughts that was never considered was, something may go out there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing when the city brought water, and there was a certain group that
And if we
did not want
improve
water
Maple, if we
because of it.
improve, and you and I talked about this, if we improve one road out to 250,
Right.
everyone's gonna be in line. Well, why did they get it? So an apartment just got them an asphalted road, we want an asphalted road.
Why did you start with
And then
them
we're
and
gonna be
not us over
on
here?
116, it's gonna open up a Pandora's box of like, so the county, that's where I like Kevin's point of the skin in the game comment, because this will cost the county a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not say it, but we're gonna end up paving all of North Oaks. And then where does it go from there? Because it's just gonna be, it's gonna be never ending because of this project that is on city property
And
The
collecting
city is
taxes.
basically getting the
Also
benefit.
pays county taxes though, don't
Nate,
it?
there's
What's
a
that?
subdivision indicator very similar to this. I can't think of it. That's near it is at, the group just south on 27 on the west side of the road. Is that in the city limits of Decatur?
No, it's not. They are served by city services, but that's a county addition.
Okay.
South of 33.
So tell me about the
They call
taxes.
it Yost Woods.
They pay both city and county taxes.
Okay, and so what will the TIF district do if they put it in a TIF?
They would keep both city and county taxes that are being paid on the property existing.
Which is about.
To go where?
Which is about, I think,
But doesn't that put them back into this improvement, not necessarily share them with the rest of the people
It
that might be
can-
needing to improve?
It can go to anything that, depending on how the TIF district is written up, depends on how the money can be expended. So it could be used to benefit the property. It could also be benefited things that benefit the property. So there's possibility of writing TIF district plans that would allow improvement money raised from the TIF district to improve roads in North Oaks because of the road connecting. But
So
if you
who's
stop
gonna
the
write
road
the
connection,
TIF
then you couldn't do
district?
that. What?
Who gets to write that up? Who's in charge of that? That'll be city?
Well, that'll be
If they
a process
The
between,
executives of both entities.
Right.
Until they get annexed.
Right.
yeah, unless
So
if
if
it
it gets
happens after
annexed
annexation, yeah,
First, then the city gets control of it.
yeah,
I mean, these are all things to think about.
correct. But if the roads don't connect, then there's no opportunity to make that
Right.
connection, and if the roads connect,
But if
then.
we're talking about money
yeah.
and expense and county
Yeah.
expense and city expense
Right,
and.
so.
And if roads are going to be,
You're-
if roads are going to be improved to city standards, city street standards in North Oaks, then that is when annexation needs to happen. I mean, that would be the viewpoint that you don't do that as a county street. You do that as a city project.
Has anybody surveyed them to see if 60% of the property owners are interested in annexation?
Oh, I believe that is the one question they went around and passed around as a petition to say they didn't.
Right.
It didn't say anything about the project. It said, do you want to be annexed by the city, which was, a false narrative. But
And
that's,
that was when?
that was in the
Recent?
beginning of
That was-
the,
yeah, it would have been in the last
beginning of the
2 months, 3
notification
months.
process, yeah. But no, nobody has said, well, you'd be annexed and there would be a process of funding, curb and gutter streets in your entire neighborhood and fixing drainage and doing stuff like that. That hasn't been looked at. And that would be an opportunity for a joint county-city project if that was the case.
I mean, if I were living there and I were gonna have traffic coming down my street, it would be nice if I had a sidewalk for my kids to play on versus having them ride
Sure.
their bike in the street.
Sure.
I mean, that might change
Yeah.
some of the dynamic of what people are concerned
If they
about.
could
That's
have
one of the things
streets
that
and
are listed.
sidewalks, I mean, that would be, those would definitely be points of conversation. They don't have that opportunity right now.
But unfortunately, I feel this is like on a fast track going forward, that how are we gonna get all these pieces
Yeah.
in place in time?
Well,
The
there's
thing
a
I've got
20 to
a little
30
bit
month,
is the TIF issue. If the TIF issue and we don't have an access point, TIF is going to be done strictly for the city municipality. If we grant access point through it, county will have a say in the TIF language.
you would definitely have an opportunity to work with the city on what could be, what funds could be used for what. I mean, it's a 20, 30-year plus process that you would do.
Jared has a question.
Since there's existing county road right of way that touches the property that we're talking about, can the county restrict access to it? Since we don't really restrict access on any other county road. We don't have any limited access highways, really. Can we limit that? Now, the discussion needs to be whether, does that road get improved and all that, but can we say that that county road right of way touches your property and no, you can't use it? Do we have that ability?
That's a Roy question.
Well, I think the right of ways to the public, I think the county can abandon it, whether they can restrict it or not, I don't know. I mean, we vacate
Right.
public
Yeah.
ways all the time.
Right.
Whether vacation would include restricting the type of access, I don't know, I guess it would depend on
That's right.
general
Just speak up
questions.
on that.
I don't,
To what extent the county can regulate roads.
We need to require permits for access and different things, so can you just say?
I think it'll
no,
get
you
those
can't use
naturally.
I don't know.
I don't think we could vacate it, cause we have a lift station that's serving the entire North Oak subdivision.
It would be
With-
really hard to vacate that section of road because.
Without, yeah,
lift station,
coming back and doing an
driveways,
easement.
other
Property
things
don't
on
have to
it.
Right.
access that, so I don't see how you could abandon that. There's no policy from
I don't
where
wanna
I
abandon
where I said where
Is-
you can restrict.
Is North Oaks an actual recorded subdivision plat, or is it like Marcus Edition where you drew the plat, you got the lot?
No, it's
lines
not, it's
with
not
the
a
lots?
platted street. The right of ways came from the restrictive covenants or deed restrictions.
Okay. In each individual deed, as it came out, chain of title, they reserved the right of way.
Correct. There was a
At
few
some-
that,
at
there was a
some
few
point
that
they
were
made
done
a
a bulk, there was some,
formal- I think the first few lots was that.
there was a bulk,
But they did
work
all-
done, and then there were, many of the individual deeds have the restrictions.
Because I think, I mean, we're going back to 1975 when we had abstracts. I think
Yeah,
at one time, I think I took a plat that was on one of the abstracts, recorded it. I was tired of
yeah,
everybody referring to an unrecorded plat. I said, that
sure.
doesn't do anybody
Not
any
anymore,
good.
yeah, yeah.
So I-
But it's not traditional where the lots don't go to the center of the road. In North Oaks, they do include the center of the road, and then they
Yeah,
include
that's what I'm
them.
saying,
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
the rights of way were probably not from a plat of dedication, but individual right
Yes.
of way easements on each
Correct.
deed that was as
Correct.
it was deeded out.
Correct, yeah.
So what if we would say, just thinking out loud, we go with Blake's suggestion that access not be full access until the last apartment is certified as,
Yeah,
Full
open,
complete.
yeah, yep.
and it not be improved until that time, but it be improved at that time by the developer, then if it never gets completely full and certified, then he never has to pay for developing it, yet we never have to grant access, full access. Is that maybe a fair way to do it?
I mean, that's the possibility, other than, it's cheaper to do when the construction crews are on the site.
Yeah, but once it's there, it's there. So if it doesn't even get to be there until the end,
Yeah.
if the end never comes, then we don't even have to deal with it.
Well, I believe
either side.
they said at public meeting that it'll be 20 months from,
They think.
I mean, but, I understand. Yeah, there's many schedules in the world, but that is their expected construction schedule. So the work and think that 20 months afterwards and a few months after that for the last, the sign-offs for the city building inspector, would happen, and it'd be, last units would be up for rent.
Nate.
Question, one of the plans that I saw earlier had Maple Street improved all the way from the intersection to the property owner. So that was my understanding, that the developer was offering to pay.
They were.
To
Right.
improve the county
They are.
right of way.
right, and that's
If-
my understanding today, but.
If the
it's
county
plenty different.
restricts the access and says don't, then I think the dollar amount that was gonna be spent to improve the county right of way is then off the table. Is that correct, Mike? There is some skin that the developer has offered as far as improving a
If
relative.
we don't open it, we
improvement.
don't need them to improve it, Nate. I mean, that's, right?
Yeah, that's the question, so, it's
Yeah.
just that.
I mean, if we
well,
open
we're
it, they
trying to put a
improve it. If
value
we
to
don't open
that.
it, they don't improve it. And that's kind of what I'm saying, is don't even do it until the end.
They're
And
just
it
gonna
sounds
close
like
up project.
originally they were gonna improve it, but then they pulled that off, right, Michael?
They removed that because that was what was discussed at Plat Committee. They're still open to that option.
230 feet to the center of the
It's in the
intersection.
center intersection, yeah, that's probably right. Close to that.
But they need a second exit. They need
Yeah.
a second.
That's what this was going to be.
Can we believe that's already a dedicated, it's a public way.
It's
Yes.
your public
Yeah.
road inventory.
It's in your road inventory. You've been maintaining it.
Right.
And at some point in time, the commissioners probably did adopt that into the county road system.
Okay.
So I doubt the deed dedications say public right of way as
They
long
don't-
as it's not for an apartment unit or,
No.
public right of way is a public right of way.
Well, The actual deed restrictions say something to the fact that it is for all the lots to use, or something like that, in the North Oaks edition.
Can we see what?
We have them upstairs. We have the
I'm
restrictions.
interested to see what they actually say.
This is an easement for roadway access for all lots or something like that, but yeah, I can go up and get one if you wanted to see it.
Does that exclude everything else?
But then at some point in time, the county was given the job of
The county
maintaining those
maintaining it,
roadways, so at that point, something else was done.
I mean, a public can acquire right of way through a deed, it can also require it through use.
Yeah. But at some point, the county took control of those roadways and maintains them to this date, so at some point, it was made in public street.
So Mike, let's back up.
Accepted, yeah.
Let's go back to original zoning of this area
Yep.
was what?
It was B3.
Okay. And B3, just in a couple of examples, would
Is-
be what?
General business is similar to what Walmart and the U stores to the north and south are
Okay.
zoned.
So with that being said, we have the street that was stubbed.
Mhm.
And obviously, back in the day, they would want to probably connect to that,
Yeah.
correct?
Sure.
Okay. So thinking about the usage of B3
Mm-hmm.
versus R3,
Correct. Yep.
you're using a lot. I'm just trying to get my arms around the fact that, you know, if it was R1 or even R3 on a smaller scale, you would want that access coming into North Oaks.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm just trying to get the flow of traffic in my mind, and
Sure.
then I'm putting all the other items together, you know, with some sidewalks, safety concerns, obviously, for children back there. We've got a nice bedroom, you know, division back here that we've lived in for a long time. Myself personally, I probably wouldn't want that, to have traffic come through there when I've been in there. I know it exists. I mean, I've served a long time, and I understand that I've lived in different places that I never thought there would be subdivisions, and they end up in my backyard, but I'm not against growth. And so I can't say that I like it, but I don't want to hinder growth
Yeah.
from that standpoint. It's just a matter of trying to come up with a viable solution for all parties involved.
Yeah.
And I know that's ultimately what we want.
Yep. I think so.
I think, and I don't know how soon I can't make a decision for you today.
Okay.
On this.
The goal was to see if we'd have stuff for the plan commission's meeting on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I honestly cannot,
Yeah.
because I need a little more information from, I think it might even be something where some parties need to sit down. And I don't know, Roy, is that something that in an executive session we can sit down? I mean, I think there's just items here that need.
Check a box.
Yeah, you have to check the box. Let me ask you this, I mean, we've been asking about the history of zoning. Doesn't North Oaks even precede area planning?
Yes.
So were there even city ordinances in the sixties, early sixties? Or is this probably pre-zoning?
And I believe that North Oaks was started before zoning was started.
So to say these people bought with expectation of, I mean, there's a stub street there, but present and more recent changes in zoning classifications are really immaterial from that standpoint, because it's pre-zoning.
Yeah, we'd have to look. Some of the houses have been well built after zoning has been
Now,
established.
as far as the planning
Yeah.
of the.
Correct. The
planning
layout of the subdivision.
Unrecorded subdivision.
Yeah, the only reason why you would say that it was meant for a future connection is because in the other corners of the development, the lots square off and finish the intersection. There is no through street, but for some reason there was one extra lot built on this, making the right of way go through versus having it stop in the corner.
Seems to me, was there a Workman Homes, or was that the original owner of the flatter of this?
I'd have to look back, but it sounds
I
familiar.
don't know. I guess my other question, you had told me that there was no fence, no shrubbery divider
Correct.
planned for the dry detention pond.
Correct.
Is there one planned for the unit that would be up against the
No,
property of Judy Green?
no, there's not.
Okay.
They're dry.
They're dry.
They're dry. They're dry. Yes. The blue shaded one is the existing pond, and that is the only wet basin that's on the site. Everything else is dry detention.
In the future,
Yeah.
it'd be nice if we could see some things like this when we're rezoning rather than waiting until we've got the headache of having rezoned and.
Well, in rezoning, we're supposed to look at all options, not just a development.
I know.
Usually that unfortunately pigeonholes decision-making in
Sometimes.
rezoning. Yeah.
A visual helps.
So, do you want to make a motion to take it under consideration? Do you want to make a motion to take a vote today? Of one way or the other?
Motion to take it under consideration.
I will second that.
When do you want us to come back? The next meeting?
I won't be here next meeting.
Is that July sixth?
The July 6th meeting?
You can Zoom.
I'll proxy in, I don't care. If you want.
I mean, our big goal is to try to keep things moving.
Right,
I think
right.
everybody understands that this is a project that they would like to get underway, whatever guidance the plan commission can have as far as what they should vote on or not vote on Wednesday.
Do I understand it correctly, that basically it would call for 3 means of access?
Correct.
You've
You can
got
only-
maybe 2, and the argument is open this Maple Street or go down to 1, which is a bad way to start slippery slope you don't want to go down. Or at least city council's attitude is we want the second one here.
Yeah, the city council's attitude was that they wanted to follow the ordinance as adopted as much as physically possible, knowing that the third option, or third existing road connection isn't possible on the site. But the second one is. I think that's where a lot of the points, and that's why there's another, obviously, there's stubs, the north and south, those are ordinance requirements as well.
So does that qualify for an executive session?
Well, I didn't see that.
There's something to the south, is it? City?
It's in the county.
It's awesome.
Walmart's the only thing that's in the city
Walmart's
limits.
in it,
Yeah.
but the Wenger property
It
is
is out,
out.
yeah. Just like this property would be an annexation development project, most likely.
Walmart's west line is the annexation.
Right. Okay. So, we're gonna try to determine if we can do an executive session to make a decision at the July sixth meeting, or make provision that we can take a vote at the July sixth meeting.
I'm thinking maybe 2 week.
Should we? Okay. Okay. Just, when will you be available?
Wednesday.
Anytime in the next 2 weeks? You don't have to tell me now, we'll just,
Yeah. Okay.
so,
Do
take
you-
it under advisement it is.
Yeah, who do you want, if you do the executive session, who are you wanting here?
Mike.
Mike would need to be there.
Nate.
Cody, does Cody need to be there? From Miller Land Surveying?
That's
Or-
fine if you want, I would rather have somebody, I mean, him
Well-
and possibly the property owner.
Well, yeah, I was thinking either whoever the owner is or his, Jeff, if he's representing, that's
Yeah.
been his,
Yeah.
he's been the lead on it, I think.
Correct.
But I'm not sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Yep.
Monthly reports. That's what I've got next. While you're looking ahead, reminder, is anybody, if they haven't filled out their census, please do that. County depends on some of the,
Unpaid commercial.
Are you getting emails from somebody saying fill out the census?
no, I just had, I had my old one on, set it on my desk, and I thought, you know what?
Mine out online a long time ago, and then after that, I'm still getting, I probably got 3 emails.
I've got
Yours, fill out your census.
Is that what you want to do? Do you want us to talk about it? We have a covered bridge certification we do annually. And we have zero.
Covered bridges.
Yes, so I just need your signatures on that as well as mine, and I can submit.
Motion to acknowledge we have 0
Second.
covered bridges.
Oh,
For the record, let's see your mask off, come on. Can't see you smiling, Jessica.
You can't see your lips moving either.
We're 12 feet away, come on.
And we got correspondence from Barnes and Thornburg about the CARES Act. They would like to, they would like us to.
yeah, Lisa told me to ask Kevin, and Kevin, I didn't ask you, so you tell me.
So
Yeah.
basically,
What is this?
Barnes and Thornburg's reached out to clients in the county to, for a $5,000 fee to help us align and offer options for reimbursement under the CARES Act,
Which is?
the PPE stuff and all the stuff with the federal funding of
$915,000.
$915,000, because there's no way that we will ever come up with that kind of the receipts for that. But there's different things that are available out there that people haven't really pursued that might help in social distancing, that the counties can do, that will in fact help reimburse towards this amount. And they,
How much money?
$5,000. Now, myself personally, I think we'll more than recover that based on the fact of just them helping us to pursue that. That's just my own opinion. I know there's other counties that are doing it.
I get an email from them every day on COVID-19. Every day.
So that's enough to vote against it, right?
No, and it's just that somebody's spending some time working on it. And for my review of what Lisa initially sent out, and then I got more, went to the state Department of Finance, that the people are supposed to be distributing or watching over this. My understanding is that the county is also supposed to be the conduit for the smaller government units.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, we gotta
I mean,
form at the very beginning.
there's money for Veracruz, and there's money for Camino,
We've got
and
Chad working on our behalf to do this else for them.
also, it's for expenses through the end of the year.
Correct, that's correct. And Lisa would be the
If it's
point.
due to COVID. I
We
mean,
have to have this
Well,
road extension.
all of our plexiglass and all of our masks and all of
Right.
that stuff, and,
well, overtime,
and our,
Exactly.
what about the time we've lost on employees and stuff, do we get to count that
well, that's why you paid $5,000 for them
to find out?
Make sure.
to get you the money back.
Yeah.
Qualify.
I mean, like voting, we had an election board meeting, and we had almost as many vote by mail as voted in person.
There's a lot of stamps and postage.
Well, no, but also the paper. We were able to
Alright.
start counting, so we started processing those paper ballots
Thank you, Roy.
at about
Yeah.
noon. And so it took,
Second,
yeah,
All in favor, say.
Aye. He puts it so eloquently.
So I need to reach out to them.
Yes.
and tell them they owe Roy a cut.
well. Never mind.
All right. What else?
Okay, also, our flexible spending account, we have it through Basic is the company, but our funds are held at Fifth Third Bank. They are suggesting that we get fraud protection for our account at Fifth Third at $65 per month.
That's ridiculous.
Well, we can deny it, but then if our account gets fraud, then they won't help with anything. I mean, we can do it through the end of the year and then decide if we want to have flexible spending next year. Flexible spending saves the county $2,321 in FICA Med. So if we do the fraud protection and everything else, we're having $1,948 in fees.
We're not saving a whole lot.
Right, we aren't saving anything, it's kind of a wash. We have 17
You'll save
people
that money.
who participate in flexible spending, but our health insurance is a high deductible health plan, so they can do HSAs instead of flex. So,
Which is better for them anyway, if they would really like to.
I need to know if you want me to do fraud protection throughout the end of the year, and also if we're gonna re-up with flex next year. If we're not, I will let the people know who have flex that
That's my opinion.
I would agree with you on that. It's just, in the FSAs, I think if I understand that correctly, based when I used to use that was, you can spend all your money up front and then it comes out of your paycheck through the rest of the year. Where the HS, yeah, with the FSA, yeah. And with your HSA, of course, you know, that's
You gotta
taken
have
out
it to spend it.
monthly, you have to spend it, but you don't lose it at the end of the year.
Right.
So it continues on.
Right, and I did get with General Insurance to see if any of our new cyber coverage would take care of that, and he said no.
So,
So what's the fraud is only on submission of claims for the account?
The fraud is on, we have money in an account that funds
How much money is in the
flexible
account?
spending
How much
ahead
money
of time.
potentially
Yeah, but
goes?
those debits on the account are made on your card, right?
Yes. It's on the account that holds our funds. We have to have so much
And
in
the bank
there.
doesn't offer any protection? The bank itself?
on the funds themselves,
Shouldn't that be some of its responsibility for having our business? Just saying.
Well,
Probably won't.
For $65 a month, they will.
That's the bank that's saying
Right,
they need
right.
protection. Okay, we'll do it this
is that
time.
who, I would say continues at the end of the year, but
Yep, and after that, they're
a lot
done.
of it probably go to HSA.
So-
And
Unless
people can start
basic,
saving now for that.
do they have to deal with, was it, you said First Merchants?
Fifth Third.
Fifth Third? I mean, do they have to deal with that bank? Or do we
that's
have
who
a
carries
choice?
ours, or
Right.
FSA.
That's who, yeah, basic administers our flex, but our banking is in
Does
Fifth Third.
Basic choose Fifth Third, or do we
Yes,
choose Fifth
yes,
Third?
basic
Because
choose-
Basic doesn't offer anything else.
Not that I know of.
And we choose our HSAs.
Yeah, you choose your own.
Okay, so I will
I'll
second your
solve.
motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
0.
That's all I have. Oh, I lied.
Wait a minute, we're gonna start calling you Jared Hahn. That's Jared's move. One more thing, I got one more thing, right, Leon?
After we
I just got one more thing.
We've had some damage out at Batson Cemetery. I guess some tombstones were overturned, a few, and also wind damaged a fence. So our deductible is $2,500. I told her to get estimates on what the costs would be and then get back with us then if you'd like to see photos. Batson Cemetery. And she also had the sheriff's department come and do
That's
a
in
report.
Jackson Township, is it not?
So they're gonna get an estimate?
Yep.
Okay. So noted.
Okay. Now that's all I have.
Oh, yeah. For fence.
Yeah.
That all?
Mhm.
Right, anything else?
Is that 13
Leon?
days?
I'll be on vacation.
Jessica? Okay.
Next meeting,
I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.